Hey everyone, Pastor Caleb here with another prayer Q&A. As we've been going through our sermon series, we've been answering common questions about prayer that don't really have enough content to put in a sermon, but are still worth our time. And today we're going to talk about postures of prayer. In other words, like Ricky Bobby asks in Talladega Nights, which I don't recommend as a movie necessarily, but it's still hilarious. Like, what am I supposed to do with my hands? We see people pray in all sorts of different ways. Maybe you learn to pray on your knees with your hands folded and your eyes closed. Maybe you were part of a church tradition where people pray with their arms up in the air. What's the deal with the different postures of prayer, and what does the Bible have to say about it? Well, the Bible doesn't give us really any prescriptions on how to pray, at least as it comes to our orientation of our body. It doesn't say, thou must do this with your hands, or thou shalt close your eyes. What we get more often than not is descriptive passages. So, David prayed like this, or he got down on his knees, or he lifted up his hands in prayer. When the Bible talks about prayer, it doesn't give us defined guidelines for what we're supposed to do with our bodies. But there is some wisdom in doing different things with your body as you pray. For example, getting on your knees, or maybe prostrating yourself on the ground, shows your position before God. In the same way that if somebody who's really tall walks into the room, you have a certain almost level of automatic respect for that person, or at least acknowledgement that their presence seems to be stronger in the room. Being lower than a person shows your humility. It shows that you look up to that person, literally. In armies, we talk about high ground as the place of power over somebody at the low ground. That is true between us and God. As we come to God in our prayers, we come humbly, yes, as children, but also as sinners, deserving God's wrath, but receiving only His grace through the death of His Son. And that can change the way you pray. Suddenly, you're not flippant about the prayers that you ask for. You ask with a certain level of focus, responsibility, humility. Being on your knees or maybe even prostrating yourself can really help your prayers. What about folding your hands? When I was a child, I was told that I was supposed to fold my hands because otherwise I would start doing naughty things with my hands, like poking my friends or playing with something on the table. I think there's probably some value to that, but I think there's something else, symbolic almost, about folding your hands when you pray. Is to say, God, my hands are so tempting to use in this moment because I want to fix this myself. I want to be the savior of my own life. But I'm folding my hands. I'm setting them aside. I'm occupying them with focus on you so that you can stretch out your hands and do what's right for me. What about closing your eyes? Of course, there's a level of focus that comes when you close your eyes. But there's also a level of clarity, right? When any meditation technique tells you to close your eyes, it's because they want you to forget the outside world for a moment and focus only on one thought or a couple thoughts. What's the value of closing your eyes? What about bowing your head? Similar to getting on your knees, putting yourself in a posture of humility before God. What about raising your hands? It can show a praise and adoration stance towards God, that you're reaching out for Him, you want to be close to Him. All these things can change your posture, not just physically, but mentally towards your prayers. When I was in college, my sports teams would always dress up on game days. We'd wear suits and ties, and for a while I kind of thought it was dumb, until I realized that on those days, when I was in class wearing my suit and my tie, I was more focused. I sat up straighter, I breathed better, I did better in school. So one time I asked one of my professors about it, and he said, when your comportment is right, your brain is right. Because your brain is just as much a part of your body as your spine or your legs or your arms or your hands. They're all connected. They're all you. And so if you are going to pray to God, don't just pray with your mind. Don't just pray with your mouth. Pray with your whole body. And that focus can help you as you try to move your heart more in line with God's heart. I hope that helps, and I hope you try something different with your physical posture for prayer, just to see how it affects your prayers. God bless you, and I hope you can join us next time for another prayer Q&A.